Hey everyone, my name is REDRUP and you're listening to the It's Not a Phase podcast. On this episode, I'm joined by profiler, vocalist and guitarist Mike Evans to talk about the band's self-titled debut EP. We also talk about how the band got together whilst in university, getting signed to SharpTone Records, material that they've still got yet to come following the release of the EP, and loads more. Before we get started, let's cover off the boring stuff. If you enjoy this episode and would like to support the podcast, please consider subscribing, rating, and leaving a review wherever you're listening to this. We also have a Patreon, where everyone gets access to each episode a week earlier than everyone else, a Discord community, and a merch store too. You can also follow and reach out to me on social media. All of the links can be found at itsnotaphase.co.uk. That's itsnotaphase.co.uk. And with all of that out of the way, let's jump right into this week's episode of It's Not a Phase. Hey everyone, thanks for joining this episode of It's Not a Phase, where I'm joined by Mike Evans, frontman, guitarist, singer, vocalist of Profiler. How are you doing, man?
Hey, very good, man. Thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah, no problem. So you guys are very much kind of like new kids on the block at the moment. Tell me like how Profiler came to be, like where did the band start, and how did you guys form and get to kind of where you are now?
Cool, yeah. So we sort of formed in our uni days. We went to BIMM, which is a British Institute of Modern Music in Bristol. And towards my third year, I was like, pretty sure I don't want to get... I was looking at industry jobs and stuff like that, but I was like, I really came here to get in a band. So I started working really hard and just sort of demos, basically, like getting... wrote like a really complicated metal track, trying to be kind of like Periphery or like not Thornhill, like more like North Lane stuff, like really heavy stuff, to try and find like a pool of talent. And then I met Joe, our bass player first, who happened to be living in the floor below me for like 2 years, and I had no idea.
Convenient.
Yeah, it was really convenient. But like also, if we had known earlier, it could have given us a head start. But so I met him. We had a sort of jam, and he's a phenomenal bass player. So I was like, yeah, let's get him in the bag. And then he knew Oscar, the drummer, from class because they were in the same year. And I met up with the drummer, Oscar, one day and jammed out one of the tracks I'd recorded, one of his demos, which he smashed through. And we just got on immediately, just like really clicked. And that was it, really. We just sort of were like, all right, let's do this. And then went through all the motions, of choosing a name and jamming out. And yeah, I kind of had maybe 4 of the 5 songs that we're releasing at the moment already written then, like quite early on in sort of demo form. And we knew the sort of direction we wanted to take. I was very sort of took the reins insofar as I was like, yeah, let's do new metal. And here we are, basically.
Here you are today. Nice. What did you study at university then?
The course name was Professional Musicianship and Guitar Performance, which was the first 2 years were kind of guitar based, like learning some theory stuff, which I hated. I really didn't. It wasn't for me. But there was other stuff like analytics and like philosophy. It was an interesting course. But like, yeah, getting to know how the music industry works, which is useful, but then it's constantly changing. So kind of, it was good. It's like really good for contacts and gave us a lot of information as a band to sort of know what to do going forward. Yeah, it was interesting. Yeah, it was good.
So were you in many bands before Profiler came to be? And, if you were, did you like kind of, were the things you learned or like you did or didn't want to make Profiler become?
Yeah. I was in one band in second year for like 4 months or something. And we had like two or 3 songs and whatnot. And we played some like end of term gigs and everything. But I'm probably a bit of a control freak, so I don't think the people in that band were that keen on doing it seriously. So it kind of just fell apart quite quickly. And I knew I wanted to do stuff like a lot heavier. They kind of wanted to do indie stuff, and I was like, no, we can't do this. So that was a really short project. So no, not really. But I've always been writing. I've always been writing like riffs and stuff like that. Like I'm a big fan of like Wes Borland, System of a Down. So I know like all Limp Bizkit songs, like Linkin Park songs and stuff like that. Like I used to just learn loads of other people's songs and then make my own riffs by myself. And then obviously a couple of years ago bought Logic and kind of was just doing stuff on my own for like a year before Profiler, just trying to sort of hone a sound. Yeah. But always felt it was just like quite natural. Like songwriting was quite natural. Sort of felt like I knew what I was doing. So just finding like people basically.
So you're saying like you're doing all these this stuff you've been doing in uni, and you're learning Logic and stuff like that. A lot of these kind of songs that have been put out so far been from back in those days. You kind of like made kind of like the foundation and the skeleton of the songs, and the guys have come in and kind of helped make the full body, I guess.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I think Revert, our second track we released, that hasn't changed. Like We extended the middle 8 bit, but that was like probably one of the first tracks I wrote. And there's a new one called Pathogen, which is on the newer stuff. That was like the initial like heavy track that I was trying to find the talent with. And that's probably like our most complicated song, but I wasn't really worrying about playing guitar and singing at the same time. So now I've got to figure out how I do that. It's nuts. Like it's so techy. But yeah.
So how about, you kind of mentioned kind of like, at the beginning, like any band, you're kind of trying to find and then settle on a name. Why did you settle on the name Profiler, and what other kind of names were you kind of batting around between each other?
Yeah, I guess a lot of people think we got it from our Kemper. So we got a Kemper that's got like called a Kemper Profiler. So
right.
Not because of that, just to be clear. But basically, we like band names beginning with the letter P. We had some really lame ones like Echo Woods and like we had some weird shit that wasn't good. I can't really remember, but like all of them were bad. But then we were like, we want something that sounds professional. So we were like pro, like something that begins with pro, like maybe like Pro 99 came up or something like that. Or like Protest something or other, but then there's obviously Protest the Hero. And then we're like Profiler. It's like a cop that's like finding like murderers and stuff like that. And we're like, that sounds cool. That sounds metal. And it just stuck. It's like it's one word. It's short. It's easy. So yeah, I think I can't remember who came up with it. We said in a room and we were like, yeah, like that's cool. Then pondered on it for like a day or two and we're like, yeah, let's go with that. It's a good name. I hope.
Yeah, nice and simple, like you say, just one word.
Exactly. Yeah. And obviously like, I don't know, it's quite a few bands with like just one name, like Incubus and Evanescence, stuff like that. It's just like short and simple. Yeah.
Periphery, Slipknot, Korn, all one word.
Yeah.
Deftones.
Deftones, yeah, exactly. It's just easy,
Yeah.
And it looks on a poster, it's not like all crazy and complicated. So.
Yeah, that's true. And you don't go with like the crazy death metal kind of typography either. That's just
you can never see what the name is.
So you guys have got 7 singles out so far. Obviously, you've got the 3 so far from the upcoming EP, which we'll talk about a bit more soon. And your first single, Metamorphosis, that came out a little over a year ago now. And that whole time, you guys have been putting this music out and you've been signed to SharpTone. How did that kind of come about, especially, because at least publicly you didn't have any music out under the name Profiler? Did you kind of just send a few tracks out to some labels and then they basically signed you up?
Yeah, it's basically how it worked was we released some of these songs previously ourselves,
right.
And worked really hard on that, on like a campaign. Didn't really know what we were doing. And again, I was kind of driving it using my very little experience of the industry and just we got artwork together, put it out on Spotify and worked really hard on putting out these singles. And I think that got the attention of Nathan Barley, who's the head of A&R for Nuclear Blast. He used to run Basic Records. And I think he'd heard of us through word of mouth at BIMM. I think at BIMM, we started to catch a few people's eyes by, there was like a hub demo drop type thing. And I used to take songs into there and they were like, this is pretty good, man. Right. Like for your sort of level. So I think, Nathan heard of us through word of mouth and then was like, he made contact through one of our contacts at BIMM. So actually, thank you, BIMM, for setting us up with that. And he came down to watch us in a rehearsal as a potential signing for Basic Records and didn't sign us initially. He was kind of like, yeah, like that's cool. And we could tell he was interested, but it wasn't like a bummer. We were just kind of like, like, is anything going to come of this? And then he was like, a couple of weeks later, like, yeah, I'd like to sign to Basic. And then COVID happened, but we were like, oh shit, like, okay, nothing's going to happen of this. But then extremely conveniently, he got head of A&R for Nuclear Blast, which is obviously tied in with SharpTone. And I was very pushy that I wanted to sign to SharpTone. He was like, sort of like, what labels do you like? Like, who would you like to sign to? I can try to set you up with someone else. And I was like, probably like SharpTone or Unified, like stupid ones like Warner, but obviously that's not going to happen.
Good for the stars, man.
Yeah, exactly. I'm still keen on that. But yeah, I was like, SharpTone's roster is sick. Like they're great. And I'd heard really good things. So I was quite pushy for that. And then, like obviously Nuclear Blast and SharpTone were tied in. He knew Sean and was like, right, let's master some of these tracks that we have. We had the original recordings. And he's like, we'll master them, make them sound as good as possible. And then he showcased 2 or 3 to Sean, and Sean from SharpTone was like, yeah, let's do it. Which we're incredibly grateful for because, we haven't released anything before. We haven't even released a debut. We've hardly toured. So it's a big risk on their part. But I think Nathan and Sean probably hopefully see something in us that we see as well that's a bit unique and different. And, the tunes seem to be going really, really well. So I think we all think as a group that there's a lot of potential in it and that there's some, kind of hopefully unique and authentic writing going on. That's interesting for everyone. So we're really grateful to be on board with them. They're awesome. And let's see what happens now.
Yeah, so you must have been sitting on these tracks for quite a while then. If you've said like, obviously pre-COVID, it was kind of in talks of you kind of getting signed, and you said as well you wrote quite a few of these tracks kind of in university. Like how old are some of these tracks? How long have you been sitting on these?
Yeah, they're pretty old, man. That's the thing. Like, I would say I'm bored of them, but I've had them playing as demos. I don't know, like 3 years at least.
Right. Okay.
Some of them, like Identify and Reverb, about like 3 years old, which is crazy. But that's the same for everyone, isn't it? Insofar as like we've had 2 years of pause. So like it's strange. It's quite surreal putting them out because I don't know, it's not like we're over them. It's like it's really exciting. But we have moved on in a writing sense, like quite a lot from that. So I'm not putting it down. Like, I think they're great tracks, but in an exciting way, it's kind of the level has changed in our new material. Like it's stepped up like massively. Yeah, again, not to take anything away from what we've written, but they're fairly old. But I think they still stand up. I listen to some of our tunes like Identify and Glitch Through, and it's like they still bang. So it's exciting. But the newer material, as Nathan, our manager, knows, is that what I'm really focused on because it's good. It's really good.
I guess with those tracks, kind of, for you guys, and you especially because you've been hearing like the demos over and over as they kind of came to be the songs they are, you kind of re-experience them again because it's not just you enjoying these songs now. There's this whole other range of, new people, new fans and stuff. I guess it just kind of brings some other like new level of excitement to these tracks that you've been sitting on for a little bit.
Yeah, definitely, mate. Yeah, and it's obviously really makes it more special, the sort of hard work and the a massive amount of patience that we've had to have, having these songs for sort of 2-3 years and not really sure where they're going to finally have them out in the world. I'm so grateful to SharpTone and what they're doing. Like it's amazing, and putting out these videos and putting a budget behind it and getting them out into the world. I mean, we've gone further to do like 93 and Glitch Through extra videos that aren't in our contracts and stuff, but we wanted to like just do everything in the right way. So it's really nice to get them out. Like it's kind of like a relief. And obviously, the response has been exactly what we wanted, like all the comments and people getting really behind it, and we're excited about this kind of revival of that 90s 2000 sound. But hopefully it's kind of its own original thing as well. Hopefully the more people hear of us, it will start to like home in as like a profile of sound, like, because a lot of people are like, oh, it's like Deftones and different stuff like this. And I think the more that people hear it, just kind of start sounding like us, which is great. But it's so good to get them out finally, man. Probably the same for you and everyone that's like been through COVID stuff. It's that made it like sort of more difficult, I guess, and sort of not knowing where it's all going and how it's going to work. So to have it all sort of back to normal and everything getting out there is fantastic.
And as you say, you're kind of like starting to, as you're dropping out, drip feeding these songs out, you're kind of like establishing for people what the profile of sound is, because you can only like showcase so much in one song, right? Yeah. So you've got to say, well, it's the same with any band. Like they have like, a heavy song, a ballad song, whatever. You're kind of showing your versatility. It's not like you've got a 15-minute song where you're doing everything that you could possibly do in one song. Exactly. So kind of like painting the profile, a picture, I guess.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. And obviously the single that we released with the EP is the last track of this run. So it's sort of 9 in total with an intro on the EP. And I think what's nice going back is that they're all like different. Like no song's the same, doesn't sound like another. And that's something that's nice to look back on as well, is that actually we did like quite a good job of making them all pretty unique and hopefully all consistently good. And that's sort of been my game plan from the start, is like, I think hopefully if you just keep releasing single after single, that's really good. People are eventually going to be like, all right, this is quite cool. And that's what we're going to hope to progress to do on the new stuff. Like we've got a lot of new material and try and make them all different, like they blend together in a body of sound, but just make them consistently good, basically.
And I was looking at your Spotify earlier, and you've only got, like as I said before, 7 singles so far, but you've already got over 33,000 monthly listeners on Spotify, which is, for a band of your size and been going, a little over a year, like that's crazy. That's congratulations for a start. But
well, thanks. Thanks very much.
I mean, like, what do you think it is about you guys that has kind of helped push you to those kind of numbers? Because you see some bands that have 1, 2, 3 plus albums that don't even quite reach those kind of audiences.
You have to be careful, don't you, when you say sort of things? You don't want to come across arrogant, do you? Because we're amazing. No, but I don't know. I think it's fresh, I guess. I hope it's like different. And I'm not taking anything away from anything else, but like, there's quite a lot of samey music out there, I guess, that's similar to each other. I think maybe that the fact that we're a three piece, there's not that many three pieces, especially in our scene. I don't think there's any three pieces in metalcore, because like most metalcore have like two guitarists, fucking three guitarists.
Yeah, some of them.
Exactly. So I think it's different. It's like I don't know, it's new, and I don't think anyone's doing that type of music in this sort of way since that era. That's always sort of like the plan as well, is not necessarily like a gap in a market, like it was really analytical. It's just sort of like why is no one doing nu metal anymore? Like, but loads of people hate on it. But I think enough time had passed since it was a really big genre into 2000s. It's been like over 20 years since like that era. So it's sort of like why not give us a go? And obviously it's a risk, but yeah, I think it's different. And as you said, like, you know, just making each song consistently good, because we don't like I would never want to put something else out that I'm not like that's definitely 100%. Like I'm extremely critical and really, really careful. And I guess, yeah, as you were saying earlier, sort of like 3 years of hard work into tracks. So, you know, hopefully that shows for the music. But it's amazing that people like us. And obviously, I think being signed to SharpTone gives a helping hand, because that's how I found bands before, you know, like Thornhill and Northlane and stuff like that. It's through label channels, just through algorithms on YouTube. So that probably helps. But yeah, we're really grateful we got monthly listeners. But I'm really ambitious. Like, I want millions, man. Right, it's a bit late.
Yeah, you've got to keep at it, man. You'll get there.
I hope so.
Yeah. So, you know, we kind of touched on, you know, you've got your self-titled debut EP on the way. How was the writing and recording process? I mean, I guess you kind of touched on that you know, some of these songs were written back when you were in university and, you know, existed pre-COVID. But yeah, how did they kind of like come together? When did they come together?
So it's sort of, the short answer is that they were basically all written on guitar pretty much, and in rehearsal, like tweaked by the guys, as we discussed earlier. And then I basically took them to our producer in his flat, which is about a 20-minute bus ride from the centre. So it was a pretty arduous process, like working an 8-hour day, and then I get the bus to his with my guitar. And we basically like put in these guitars over like a drum loop, and then put in the drums together, get the drummers input. So we basically recorded all the guitars, all the drums. And Joe would go over and do all the bass, and then I would go back and forth from work to my producer's house, because he had a microphone and everything like that, and just a really good producer. We had a really good rapport at the time, and just slaved away. Like it was really like not easy. It's not like we sat in a studio for a month and just bash one. It was like a year probably for like all of them. Like, you know, back and forth. Like it was really hard work. But you know, I just remember like we do like a session, and then I'd be on the bus on the way back, and he'd send me a mix. I'd be like, this is so cool. Like, this is so much fun. And we weren't really thinking much of it really. We were just like, let's just make really sick songs. But yeah, I think the struggle of it made a lot of effort, because it was difficult, you know, not like over the top difficult, but just yeah, it's a lot of hard work, blood, sweat and tears went into this track. So yeah, it's probably all recorded over the course of a year. And they've all been as they are as mixes for like 2 years at least. You know, we haven't, none of them are like new, haven't been written in the last year or anything like that. They're all about 2-3 years old, yeah.
And you said earlier, you know, some of the songs that are on the EP were written around the same time as the standalone singles you released beforehand. How did you kind of decide on what tracks would be on the EP and what would be the standalone singles in the lead up to that? That
was a discussion between myself and Nathan from Nuclear Blast and SharpTone. Was kind of like, what's the best way to do this? And I think we're sort of on a kind of, I guess, probation period where we're like, let's just keep spinning out singles into the world and then see. And obviously we put out the 4 Metamorphosis, Reaver, Identify. We put out those 3 as videos, and then it was like, well, we've got more. So I kind of wanted to do like maybe a 9-track or whatever, but I think because it's early days for us, you want to have the demand for vinyl to invest in that, especially as like a 2-year waiting list or something ridiculous. That's why we haven't done a physical. But yeah, I wanted to put all 9 together. But I think their ambition is to sort of create a following. And a really good way of doing that is obviously singles, and then like a small EP to just sort of get our name out there. But maybe we can collect all the songs together. I don't really know. But that's why, yeah, we sort of like wanted to put out, you know, Metamorphosis is just kind of, I don't know. That was like just always the first one that we wanted to release. It's a hard question to answer, really. Like, yeah, we just wanted to like spill out singles. And then I think the EP came together because we realized we had all 9 of the masters. Yeah. And it was like we were only going to do a few singles and then maybe have a conversation. But then I discussed with Nathan and SharpTone. I was like, these are all mastered. Like, we could put all these out. And then they came back with being like, all right, let's do like a 5-track. But I kind of just leave it to the professionals, I guess. Yeah. As I said, I wouldn't have mind doing like a 9-track of them all together, because that would make sense because it's a full body of sound. But I guess they know what they're doing, I guess. Hopefully.
Yeah. Well, I guess kind of in this age of streaming, like, and people's attention spans being, you know, shorter than ever, you just keep on putting out these singles, like drip feeding them. And then obviously, like, kind of like you said, the EP, it's less like, I don't know, people kind of like to compartmentalize things, don't they? Like they'll look at an album and they'll say, well, that's 9 tracks. I don't have time for 9 tracks. Whereas I'm looking, it's like, you know, 4 or 5. Oh, you know, I can listen to that on my run. And then if you know, you're getting these singles, then there's something to kind of push every few weeks, right? So your name's kind of like keeps on getting pushed out there.
That's it, yeah. And I don't think there's a set rule of exactly how to do it. There's a band I follow in Japan called Pale Dusk. I don't know if you've heard of them, like a Japanese metalcore band. Yeah. They're insane. They're with Grayscale. And they haven't put out like any debut or anything like that. They do like 2 tracks, 1 track, 3 tracks. So just like drip feed songs. But their method is like really good because every song is like nuts. And they always do a video with it. So I think maybe, I sort of discussed that with them. Like maybe we should just keep putting out singles because, as you say, like I don't know, once an album's out, it's like put in like 3 years of work out, and it's kind of like wouldn't say it's like forgotten about at all. Yeah. But if you're like putting out consistent singles, it's always giving you like something exciting to listen to, and you're only as good as your last song. So it kind of gives you the focus to do one at a time, which is potentially a trend that we could carry on. You know, I discussed maybe doing another 5-track, but like a really heavy 5-track because I want to sort of, I don't know. I think we've got some lighter sides and some more commercial sides of our music, which is, you know, old stuff and new stuff, but we got like a few like really heavy songs. And I kind of want to get that respect from the metal industry as well, to be like, they're not just like singery songwriters. Some of it's like really heavy. So I'm kind of keen on doing that. We'll see.
Yeah. And I guess, you know, if you're putting like singles out or EPs out, then each of the songs get a bit more time to shine. Whereas like I said before, people sometimes kind of want to gloss over an album of 9, 10, 11 tracks. And then you've got kind of some deep cuts on there that some people just don't even bother to listen to because it's just like, I'd just rather listen to the singles, the hits, whatever they want. Yeah, and I'm definitely guilty
of that as well. It's easier to listen to like a 5-track, isn't it, than a whole album, because it's like a lot. You need a lot of time to do that. If you're like sat on a bus on the way into work or on a train or whatever, it's rare that you're going to listen to like a 14-track or whatever. And it's also like, I don't know, it's a lot for your ears, isn't it? You need like only first 10, 15 minutes of metal at a time. I'm like, oh, that's probably
that's my feel for now.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll see. I think a debut will come, and that's really exciting. We want to get the demand from it where, you know, the label can see the business return on vinyls and things like that. So it might be a couple of years before we do that, but we've got enough new music to put something together, which is great.
That's cool. Well, yeah, you've got, you know, something to throw out when you're ready then, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Which is why we might do singles. We might drop this EP. They might be like, can you do 2 more singles, please? And we're like, yeah, let's go. So we don't know what's going to happen next, basically. We're yet to have that conversation, but it's exciting.
We'll see once the EP drops, I guess. Yeah.
Hopefully it goes well.
Well, you know, the you know, we're kind of talking about like longevity of songs and albums and stuff like that. So, you know, the EP itself, like all EPs, is relatively short. You know, 15 minutes. But even in that short time, you know, in the songs, you kind of cover some pretty, you know, heavy and also personal topics, you know, like, you know, battling social anxiety and substance abuse and stuff like that. Was there any kind of nervousness or apprehension to kind of tackle those subjects lyrically, you know, kind of put them in a position where, you know, you've got your heart on your sleeve and you're kind of talking about these in your songs to, you know, well, literally thousands of people?
Yeah, no, not really, to be honest, because I don't sort of, as you say, I wear my heart on my sleeve. I don't shy away from any emotions at all. That's what inspired me about bands I was listening to growing up, like Linkin Park and Korn and stuff like that. Like, obviously, we've got some like heavier subjects, and that like really helped me through time. So it's the sort of same thing. If you can sort of create an awareness around an issue through music, it might be potential sort of tour or whatever, but then you can hopefully get people on board with that, and then they can relate and not feel so isolated because they know that someone else is like talking about the same thing. That really helped me. Like Chester stuff really helped me for a lot of stuff. And Adrian Fiddy Paddles as well from North Lane, his stuff in Singularity. I was like, this is like so eye-opening and stuff that I was thinking about. So yeah, no, not at all. Like, I'll keep doing that. I'm not afraid to talk about that stuff, and I'm not afraid to talk about it with people openly on these sort of podcasts and stuff as well. I'm sort of like not out the woods, but those issues that I had have got better for me because, you know, channeling them through the music and whatnot. But yeah, definitely stuff that I struggle with, and just happy to talk about it.
Well, I guess, you know, everyone is working on themselves. No one's like perfect, right? Everyone's a work in progress. And sometimes some people connect better with having a conversation. Some people connect better with hearing it through the music. And that's kind of a lot about what heavy music is, isn't it? It's very much more emotional in general than, you know, some mainstream pop or whatever it is that you might listen to, because, you know, it's aggressive, it's energetic,
and also that
rules.
The mainstream sort of pop stuff, that like a lot of it is just not real, you know, like in like Sunshine and Lollipops. That's not reality, is it? Like everyone feels bad. And obviously metal's got that stereotype of being like, oh, it's really depressing. But that's usually from people that like probably aren't in touch with that darker side of themselves, which everyone experiences. So it's important to talk about. But obviously, yeah, we're trying to talk about lots of other subjects. I think the new material is less sort of like self-therapy through music. It's more like broader subjects, a little bit political. Some of it's like, to do with like philosophy and sociology and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm very glad I was able to touch on it, because I wasn't going through good times when I was writing that. Like I had some bad habits and bad social anxiety and stuff like that. So I needed to do that for myself. Really, I wasn't maybe even necessarily thinking about it. I was just like, this is how I feel. I feel like shit today. I'm going to write about this, and it was really helpful. And it's weird, because I don't think I was thinking about what I was writing, but now listening back to it, I'm like, oh, like shit, that makes sense to me later on to look back on. So it's nice in that way.
So in a way, it's kind of, these things you've wrote about aren't only, you know, helping people that are listening to it, but they kind of helped you as well when you were writing the song. Like it's kind of cathartic and therapeutic.
Yeah, exactly. And it's weird, listening to yourself, listening back on your own lyrics and it making sense again, you know, because we've had a break from listening to them and then being like, you know, it's cathartic. Exactly. That's the exact word. Yeah.
So, you know, you've talked about the new EP coming out in a few weeks. What else is kind of in the pipeline for Profiler so far this year? Well,
that's kind of, I wouldn't say it. I think obviously there's some stuff later, but yeah, we've got this next round of content and this EP and the next single, obviously Hypocrite, the last single on the EP, that coming out at the end of June. So for us, we're just trying to get sort of extra content together for the label. We're trying to do like vocal reels covering like really big new metal bands from that area, like 30 Seconds to Mars, Incubus, Limp Bizkit. Let's try and get like a bigger fan base through SharpTone. But, you know, I'm very eager to have a conversation with them on these new songs. So it'll hopefully be something like going to the studio and recording some new material and getting new material out in some sort of way. And then I would say following that will be hopefully some touring and getting out and playing live, showcasing what we're about. But I personally think it's good to introduce the band in this way, but I really want to sort of fuck shit up, as it were, with the new tracks, because I think they'll hopefully not be ignored because they're cool. So hopefully we'll go to the studio and I'll buy some more guitars. We'll see.
Nice. Well, I look forward to hearing the new stuff, man. How many tracks have you got kind of in the back burner now, or can't you really say?
We've got like at least a debut record's worth. So it's got sort of like 15 tracks that we could get down, which it's really interesting. It's a really diverse body of sound, like some really light stuff, some pretty commercial stuff, kind of like Nirvana-y, Incubus-y, some of it, and then some of it's like really heavy, like really, really heavy, like Limp Bizkit-y, like heavy Limp Bizkit, I guess I would call it. So I'm personally really excited. So hopefully SharpTone keep us on. We can keep having those conversations and get this new music out, which I think hopefully the fans and the people following us will be really interested to see. And we can hopefully widen that audience into heavier areas and more commercial areas, and people can hear more of what the Profiler sounds about. Like I'm really excited and confident they'll keep us on, because it seems to be going well. So fingers crossed.
Sounds exciting, man. Well, before I let you go, is there anything else you want to say? Any final words? Anything you want to plug?
To everyone who's checked us out so far, we really appreciate it. And really looking forward to sharing this EP on the 24th of June. Thank you to SharpTone. Thank you very much for this conversation with you, mate. It's been fantastic. Cheers.
And that's it. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed the episode, please consider supporting the podcast in any way that you can. We have a Patreon where you can get access to each episode a week early, along with some other perks, a merch store, a Discord community, or you can leave a review wherever you're listening to this. You can also follow me on social media or subscribe to the newsletter, where I'll send out each episode to you via email, along with regular playlists. All this can be found at itsnotaphase.co.uk. That's itsnotaphase.co.uk. Thanks again for listening, and remember, it's not a phase, it's a lifestyle.